Go to
25 puts you in the ballpark.
And basically what we're doing is that we'll apply the same, what may I say, successful investment strategies that we use with our larger segregated accounts.
Yep.
So if we're running a $2 million account and we have these securities, the pool will own exactly the same securities, pretty much, give or take a little bit, as what we do for a large client. So we'll be able to provide the same investment returns and so forth.
But I get a percentage of it.
But you get a percentage of the pool.
That's my share of whatever I've got. So
We're going to make it affordable. I mean, the average expense ratio for management expense ratio for Canadian Mutual Fund is around 2.75%. We're going to put this out at a 2% management fee rate.
Yeah.
So, and
smaller amounts need more money.
Right. So we'll be able to properly diversify these accounts. We can do it on a cost-effective basis. And from our perspective, we try and practice in the firms what's called fair dealing, which means that every client, big or small, gets treated with equal
Well, some
fair.
clients start off with a lot of money and end up with a little money.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how do you make a small fortune in the
start
soccer
with a big
business?
one, right?
Start off with a big one,
Yeah.
you know. So you're going to be able to look after more of these people crossing the border
Yes.
than you could before.
Yes.
Because again, let me use an example. Okay, we got let's pretend Richard and his wife Shirley get a job down in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah.
And they go.
Gee, that was pretty close to home.
And they go down. Well, it's because I got you your visa, for God's sake. And they get a job down there, and he's got $30,000 in his RRSP, and it's for the sake of argument, Bank of Montreal, whatever. Under the present rules, the Bank of Montreal can actually still look after him because he was a client already. But they're still limited in the fact of whether they can buy or sell anything within that fund, are they not?
No, under the NAFTA treaty, as I understand it, if they stay with the existing advisor, and it depends, again, from firm to firm. Not all Canadian firms have, some have said we don't do any business with U.S. residents. Some have licensed individual brokers in the United States, but to deal with specifically with retirement products, right? So they can continue to typically do with an RSP, or a RIF.
But if he's got $50,000 in a securities account at RBC or TD Waterhouse or BMO or Wood Gundy or something, they can't deal with them.
No.
Doesn't matter how long.
And they can't deal with my 401k when I leave.
Right.
So, but he can go to you, and you can take over a securities account and put him in one of these blended accounts or something, and you can put his RRSP in the same thing or a different one.
Well, in both ways. What happens when they go down, for example, and the first thing that happens, and it's what I wanted to sort of talk a bit about tonight, is when you go.
Yeah.
Right. Should you be doing to prepare to go, and once you're down there, what next?
Well, a lot of it depends on how much time you've got too.
Yeah.
Because again, we have people phone on a Friday afternoon that want to go and work in San Francisco, and they got a job starting Monday if we can get them a visa.
Yeah.
And if they get the paperwork and the faxes are fast enough, and UPS shows up with the real letter, we can have them working in San Francisco on Monday afternoon if they call us on Friday.
Yeah.
It's a little tough, but it can be done.
We did me in a week.
Yeah. So making it short or long, whatever it happens to be, lots of times they don't have any time to prepare because the job starts
Well, that's
now.
what. Okay, let's start with that then.
But if they have time to prepare, they can go to you and you can help them because you're an agent and you've got all these contacts in the States and so on. You can help them. I think you can help them with things like debit cards, Bank of America,
we can set them up.
Card,
I mean, we've
MasterCard.
addressed this a bit about before when you go. I mean, everybody finds credit difficult when you go down there because you don't have a credit record in the United States. So how do you get started, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have you're going to have to establish a line of credit, or you're going to have to find somebody to help you do it. So no, one of the things that we can do, for example, is when you go down, say if you're down there and you need help, or you're going to go and you want help, I mean, we can take your RSPs, get you set up, with your resident, with your new residents in the United States, get it all set up according to the way you want it set up. Make sure that you're going to be reporting it right for tax purposes, right?
If they sell their house here, you can exchange their money at a better rate.
That's a good point. I mean, we are licensed. We're in the foreign exchange business, so with our capabilities, we can pass along to clients. Mm-hmm. We don't do it for everybody, just for clients.
Got to be existing to your clients.
We will trade your currency for wholesale. So
and that can save them 1%.
Well, at
or
least.
more.
Yeah,
At
100%,
least.
yeah.
We are trading on the currency side about 9 basis points over bid under offer. So, I mean, versus a spread at the bank of 150 basis points. So yeah, and $500,000, the number is substantial.
It's enough to $5,000 or so,
Right.
4,000.
So yes, we can get into the currency exchange business. But on the other side, for example, when you were down there working, you're gonna start up a 401k probably with the firm you're working with, and then chances are you're going to have surplus capital, and you're going to want to invest down there. So we can do that too. But then not typically, but what can happen is 5 years, 6 years goes by, and you want to come back, or your job expires, or
The economy goes for
whatever.
they don't renew your contract.
Yeah, you get the boot or whatever. So now you got issues. You got
401k.
you
if
got-
they want to cash out.
So okay, you've got tax deferred savings accounts in the U.S. Well, do you keep them? Can you keep them? Can you bring them back to Canada? What if you're going to come back to Canada for 4 years and then go back down to the States again?
You might want to keep it down there.
Right. So we can, for example, when people leave, they say, "Well, should I cash in my RSP?" And my first question is, "Are you ever coming back?" Maybe.
How good is your medical insurance?
Well,
'Cause-
not only that, but
yeah.
the basic strategy is I try and employ with everybody is, and this is the operating sort of thesis is keep your options open, all your options open as long as you possibly
Yep.
can if there's no penalty involved.
Yep.
Keep your RSP for as long as you can. Many firms and many books on cross-border investing have counseled that, you
Sell
move
it
to the
all
States,
before
you
go.
sell your RSPs, you pay the 25% withholding, and be done with it.
Yep.
Right? That you're better off investing in the U.S. And I've
But
seen
they haven't been for the last 10 years.
No.
It's been a disaster.
It's been a disaster for anybody that did that.
Absolutely.
So my telling everybody to keep their RSPs was right?
Absolutely.
In Canadian dollars, yeah. Of course, if they had an RSP in U.S. dollars because their financial advisor said you should be in U.S. dollars, then they were in just as bad shape anyway.
Well, the other side of it is, and I'm glad you bring it up, I mean, the whole issue of, Canadianizing an IRA.
Yes.
There are ways, and certainly from an investment management standpoint, and people who are concerned about the economics in the U.S., the devaluation of the dollar, and all this kind of stuff, there are ways to invest within the IRA to Canadianize it.
Yeah.
Whether it's via currencies or investments, where you can mitigate the damage from the U.S. dollar. But my point is this sort of cookie cutter sort of investment advice that's been out there about, liquidate your Canadian RSPs, put it into U.S. dollars, pay the withholding, and
If I get
it's
that
been
call, I just tell them keep it. If you can.
well, sure. So in many cases, as I said, in our philosophy, my philosophy is simply that as we go through an investment policy development with a client, we want to look at all the options. Keep your options open for as long as you can when it comes to retirement accounts or anything.
Yeah.
And then if there's no significant penalty or risk to it, then we want to keep that intact for as long as possible.
Okay.
Preserve the options because you may come back, say, if you're going to the States, you may come back to Canada. In the law of unintended consequences, right? We've seen it. Dad moves down, they're going to retire in Florida, and then, of course, the grandkids are back in Calgary, and
Or dad gets cancer and his medical runs out.
Well, who wears
Which
the
is-
pants in
yeah.
the family, Richard? It's not dad that makes the decisions anyways,
Yep.
right? It's
Yep.
mom who says, I want to be close to the grandkids. I don't care
Yeah.
what you want. I'm going
There's
home.
only so many
We're-
times that they can come down to Disney World. Yeah.
We're going home. And in many cases, I mean, keeping the options open, because people change their mind, right? Circumstances change.
It's planning ahead. If
All
you
the
tell me
time.
what day you're going to die, I'll tell you what to do.
Yeah. So keep the options open. So this is, I guess, in a nutshell, is that one of the things that Seabank Capital can do is allow people to keep their options open.
So you can take them and they move from here down to California. They're there for 10 years and they move back to Canada and they decide they really want to stay in California. And they go back to California and they can deal with one phone number.
Exactly.
866-541-9952.
Right.